Hello everyone and welcome back to another One Piece Short video. So in this video I'm going to be showing you whether or not the free-to-play PSY STRAWHATS Limit Break expansion is worth it for each individual character. So I don't want to waste your time, so I'm going to start off with the units that I think are worth it. So starting off, Luffy, quite obviously he is definitely the most worth it in my opinion. So he gets quite a lot from his expansion. So first of all, he gets 2 cooldowns, so he goes from 13 to 11. But to be honest, the main times you're going to be using these units is in treasure map, and they're always boosted with a lot of cooldowns. So the fact that these units get cooldown doesn't really matter, since the specials are usually charged already at the start of the quest. So honestly, the cooldowns doesn't matter in whether or not you should expand them or not. But what else he also gets the hunger potential ability, which is awesome. So that's always awesome to have. Unfortunately, we can't get dupes for this character, so we can't max that out, but still getting 1 turn of hunger reduction is awesome. And then the main thing that he gets from his expansion is the improvement in his captain ability. So as you can see, he boosts side characters attack by 3.75 times. Before expansion, that is only a 3 times multiplier, so it's improved by 0.75, which is a very big jump. And he states that he boosts other characters attacks by 3.25, which and he was previously 2.5 times, so also again a 0.75x jump, which is very big. He also gets 1.4 times HP to the entire crew, and it was previously 1.1x HP, so once again a big jump in multipliers. So he's quite a strong captain after expansion. I mean, definitely a big jump. He's still not the best, but definitely that improved captain ability as well as the hunger potential ability, I think makes this character worth it. So the next character I'm going to be talking about is the Brook. So Brook is an interesting character because he reduces threshold and resilience by 2 turns. Now the biggest thing here is that he gets double special activation. So in a scenario where the enemy has 5 turns of threshold, then you have the double special activation from Brook. That means you can remove 4 out of 5 turns of it. But the big thing comes into play when you have this Nami as a support attached to Brook. She's a very old character. You probably have her in your box. So if you attach her to Brook and the double special activation, you'll be able to get rid of all 5 turns of the threshold, as well as resilience. So that is awesome. So just an amazing unit to get rid of threshold and resilience. He doesn't do anything else, but he's always going to be a boosted unit. So if you need a threshold reducer and someone who's boosted, he's going to be an awesome unit. So just because of that, I think he's a worth it unit. He also gets 2 turns of cooldown. He used 10 turns previously, so that is cool, but doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Next I'm going to be so that is the only units that I think you should definitely expand. Now we're going to move on to units that I think you might be worth expanding them, but it's not like you need to do them. So first off, we're going to be talking about Sanji. So he also gets 2 turns of cooldown. He goes from 12 to 10, so once again irrelevant, but still nice to have anyways. Now the big thing here is that he also gets double special activation, so that is awesome. He what he does in his special is that he gives adjacent loss matching and a 2-turn 2.5x chain lock. So if that was a 3-turn chain lock, it would be definitely a worth it expansion. But the fact that it's 2 turns is so weird. Like, I can't imagine a scenario where you're actually using this. But just the fact that he has double special activation, I'd say he might be worth it unit, but I definitely think you can get by without it. But you definitely get some value from expanding him. He also obviously gets stats. All these units get a bunch of stats. I think like 200 attack, so that is awesome. And HP and recovery, obviously. The next might be worth it unit is Usopp. So Usopp is interesting because honestly he is very close to being a worth it unit, and I'll explain why. So in his special he gives 2 turns of delay, as well as 2 turns of special bind and a 2-turn ore block. So ore block is very underrated. That is an awesome effect to have. The delay doesn't really matter since the enemy always has immunity, but the important thing is the special bind reduction. So The big thing here is that in his expansion he gets fear reduction, so the combination of having special bind reduction and the fear potential ability is amazing, because when the enemy gives you Sailor Despair, or fear as it's called, then you can't reduce the special bind on the unit with the crewmate abilities, which means that you can't use the special to reduce the special bind. So, but having fear reduction allows you to get bypass that, which is awesome. Now the only thing that's keeping me from saying he's a worth it unit is the fact that it's only 2 turns of special bind reduction, which is very lackluster in today's day and age. There's a low chance you can get that little turns of special bind reduction. But if he had double special activation instead of like damage reduction here, then he would definitely be a worth it unit in my opinion. But that's pretty much it on Usopp. He also gets 3 turns of cooldown. He goes from 12 to 9, so that's fine I guess. But that is basically Usopp. Let's get into the not worth it units. So these units, I don't think they get anything worth it that is valuable. So starting off with Zoro. So Zoro, in like the grand scheme of things, he's an amazing unit to have, but in terms of his limit break expansion, he doesn't really get much. So he only gets cooldown and stats, unfortunately, and he gets the enrage potential ability. So enrage isn't really that great. No one really cares about that, so you don't get much value from his extra potential ability. In terms of cooldown, he goes from 12 to 9. As I said before, cooldown doesn't really matter since you're mainly using him in treasure map. Now he's really good in terms of his special though, because he is a wave clear unit and he gives you a 3-turn orb boost. So what you could do is use him in stage 2 of your treasure map run, and you will wave clear the units on stage 2, and then you can carry his orb boost into stage 3, so you don't have to activate a orb boost and waste time on the final stage. So he does provide a lot of the special ability that is helpful in treasure map, but he doesn't get much from his expansion, which makes him a not worth it unit in my opinion. Moving on to the next unit, it is Nami. So Nami is a utility unit that synergizes well with Robin. What she does is she gives you adjacent orbs matching and 3 turns of paralysis and bind reduction. So a very decent special, and most of the time you're either using Robin or Nami in a treasure map. But she doesn't get much from her expansion, just 2 turns of cooldown. She goes from 10 to 8. And she also gets this potential ability stating that she will reduce her special charge time by 4 at the start of the quest. So this is pretty useless because you're going to have your specials ready at the start of the quest anyways. So this is completely irrelevant. I'd even rather have like some other random like thing like enrage. That would have been more useful in a treasure map run. But she synergizes well with Robin because Robin also gives you adjacent orbs matching. So if you have these units next to each other in the middle row, you get a full board of matching orbs. But overall, she doesn't get much from her expansion at all, so not worth it in my opinion. So moving on to the next unit, which is what I was just talking about, the Robin. So Robin also gives you adjacent orbs matching, as I said previously. She also has the exact same potential ability as Nami, so once again pretty useless. She only gets 1 turn of cooldown reduction, but I've noticed she is the most used unit in treasure maps. Like her utility is always needed, or the fact that she changes block orbs into matching, which Nami does not do. So most of the time the enemy is going to give you block orbs, so this is awesome to have. This character is always used, that's why I maxed her out completely. But that's pretty much it that she gets from her expansion, which is very unfortunate. Moving on to the second last unit, which is Frankie. So Frankie is also a very useful unit in treasure map. The fact that he reduces defense up and damage reduction by 3 is amazing. 5 would have been nice, but 3 is usually enough to suffice. He also gives you a 3-turn color affinity to your Psy units, so that is awesome carrying over multiple stages. I'll use him almost every treasure map as well as Robin, so he's an awesome unit, but he also doesn't get much from his expansion. He just gets enrage like Zoro, pretty useless. He also gets 2 turns of cooldown, once again pretty useless, and stats, so he doesn't get much at all, so definitely not worth expanding. Moving on to the last unit, which is Chopper. He gets 3 turns of cooldown reduction. He goes from 12 to 9. Then he gets the recovery bind potential ability, which is actually pretty useful. 5 turns of reduction, but you don't really get recovery bind much, so it's not really that amazing. And that's pretty much it. He also just gets stats once again. So overall, the only units that you should definitely expand are Luffy, Brook. The units that might be worth it are Sanji, Usopp, and that's pretty much it. Then the rest of the units are just don't do them. Now I'm a bit of a hypocrite since I did all of them, just because it's satisfying to see all these units fully maxed. So I'm working on getting them all rainbowed and plus 540 candied. But they're always going to be useful in treasure maps, but you don't want to waste a bunch of materials, because the amount of materials that it costs to expand all of these characters is almost enough to expand 2 legends, so it's definitely not worth it. It's a bit of a dumb decision like I did. But that's pretty much it for this video, a bit of a long one, explaining each of these characters in depth on the expansion. But I hope you found the video helpful, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.